Yeah, that's probably the loudest Bulls fans have been since '98.
Yeah, seriously. Finally something to be excited about over there in Chicago.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Seventh Man Up podcast. I'm your host, Alex Burleson, and I got a special guest here. If you want to introduce yourself to the people, and we'll go from there.
Big Al, what up, man? It's hey everybody, it's Jon Root. Big Al, we're about to get into our history. We go all the way back to I think basically some junior high days.
Yeah.
Don't know me. I'm a content creator, writer, speaker, cover a lot of sports, worked for the San Jose Sharks, Golden State Warriors G League team, the Santa Cruz Warriors, did some stuff with NBC Sports in the Bay Area. And now I cover sports, faith, and a lot of politics and culture stuff as an independent content creator. It's a blast.
I love that. That's awesome. And yeah, throughout the years, I've always kept up with you, and I know you've done the same with me. Um, yeah, so starting off, yeah, great intro, by the way. Great intro. So you shared that we go all the way back. What's your favorite, if you could pick any story from back in the day with us, what could it be? I know that's a tough question on the spot, dude.
I think, shoot, we had so many good, like, I feel like more of it, like, instead of just one specific moment, I feel
Yeah.
like it was like you being the manager on the team. I remember like me and a lot of the guys, like we loved just like incorporating you and everything that was going on. It's like
Yeah.
you were a part of the squad, and I feel like we always had dumb things to say and dumb things to do, or just stupid young high school kids. But I feel like
Yeah.
that was always super fun, just kind of incorporating you with what we were doing. And I feel like we we met up. Man, that was I don't know if that was in college, but it was like over the summer, and then we met like we went to Cold Stone, and I think it was like Danielle LaRose, Gabe Leparati, I think Jesse Stafford, Caitlin Lee, and then there was some girl that looked just like a girl named Bree. Do you remember that? They looked just like a girl we went to high school with, and then we took a photo with her.
I vaguely remember that. Are you talking about what was her last name? Carmouche? Brie? Are you talking about her maybe?
No, I don't even remember, like I might even saying the wrong name, but we found this girl that looked just like a stark lookalike. And then we hung out with
Yeah.
her for a minute. We took a photo and then we tagged the girl that we went to high school with. And it was like one of those stupid, like, but hilarious
Oh my
moments,
gosh.
like just a random night. What about you? Do you feel like you got like a favorite moment, like being around playing basketball together in high school?
Yeah, I would always, one memory that always pops up. Do you remember when we were on JV and the rule that Cuts always had, if you got a charge?
You got a
Do you remember
Powerade.
that? There was one game you took maybe like 10 or 12 charges in a game, and then like he stayed true to his promise. I remember in the locker room afterwards, he just comes with a bag full of Powerades, and he's like, "John, this is for you."
That's right. That's right. I remember like he must have spent his entire coaching paycheck on just giving me Powerades. Like that was he should have just given me money to put into Powerade stock or something. But I think I took the most charges I ever took in a game, I think was 8, and that was varsity.
Yeah.
But yeah, those days with Cuts, that was so classic.
Funny story about Coach Cuts. I help out with my church's youth group, and this was years ago when we did campus ministry, and we're doing like a club at Whitney High School, and I'm helping out, and then in the background I just hear Alex. I turn around, and then like I recognize him right away because he has such a distinctive
Yeah.
voice, and I was like, Cuts. I don't know if he's still the principal there, but at the time he was the principal of Whitney High School.
Wait, I feel like I vaguely remember that, hearing that and
Yeah.
stuff. Like he was such a fun coach. I feel like we had such a fun squad. I really enjoyed playing for him. He might have been he was probably my favorite basketball coach at
Yeah.
Del Oro. He was great. I mean, I definitely liked playing for him. He was fun.
Yeah, I liked cuts too.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about it before we started the show. Want to get your takes on that Josh Giddey buzzer beater?
Bro, that was crazy. That was like I could only imagine being a Bulls fan or a Lakers fan. You're just like riding this roller coaster the whole time.
Yeah,
And then the night before, I mean, it was basically the whole day before was crazy for Lakers fans and especially Braun fans. Um, it was
yeah,
like, all right, go on the Pat McAfee show. They have the LeBron versation, and there's the feud between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James, and LeBron James gets a buzzer beater, and then the next
yeah,
night, it's like, I mean, LeBron was bad down the stretch, and I know he admitted it too. Like
yeah.
I mean, he's probably the reason that they lost, to be completely honest. But I mean,
I would say
other
that.
than just like LeBron slander, that was fun. And Giddy, that was probably the best part of it was the broadcast call.
Yeah,
That was crazy. That was one of the best calls I've ever heard. And you would have thought that was game 7 of a playoff series or something.
for
That
sure.
that was probably the craziest ending I've seen in the NBA in my adult life. That was nuts.
Yeah, that's probably the loudest Bulls fans have been since '98.
Yeah, seriously. Finally something to be excited about over there in Chicago.
Yeah,
That was crazy. I think the Bulls had like a 1% chance to win by like analytics. And then they go, Kobe
yeah,
White hits that big three. And then I mean Austin Reeves too. He deserves a lot of credit. He's been legit. And then Giddy, that was fun, man. That was like that'll get the NBA ratings back up if we see some more things
yeah,
like that. That was a good time.
yeah. And they need their ratings up. I just saw that Adam Silver had that board of governors meeting, and I'm glad that he admitted it. He admitted that the changes to All Star Weekend this year were kind of a dud.
Yeah. It was just bad. I mean, it just feels like a weekend off for a lot of players now.
Yeah,
It's the same thing that's happening in the NFL. The Pro Bowl's an absolute joke. But I mean, when you have LeBron James, like he load managed the All-Star game.
and he did that at the last minute,
Yeah.
bro.
Didn't give
Like, who does that?
like I mean, for me, I'll put my tinfoil hat on, my conspiracy theory hat. I mean, I think he knew for a while, and I think the NBA knew as well. And they just kept it under wraps because they want people to believe that LeBron James in year 20 or whatever it is going to play in
Yeah,
the All Star game. So it's like, let's try to at least get people to tune in. Because if people found out days before, I mean, they're not going to tune in. But you
yeah.
have like Chris Paul and Wembenyama that are trying to cheat the skills challenge, and
Gosh, yeah.
you literally have a G League player that's winning the dunk contest. Like it's all bad.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, oh yeah, the dunk contest, Mac McClung, like he's a good dunker,
He's a
but
great dunker.
he's not in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, he would probably
Yeah,
deserve to be in the league more than Bronny James, but I don't want to I feel like everybody will tune in and be like, this guy can't stand the James family.
man.
But I feel like he's a great dunker, but it just kind of sucks when you don't have your best dunkers in the dunk contest probably over the last like decade. And it's just
Very true. Yeah.
I think the last time the NBA All-Star game was good was when they did I think it was like the first time they implemented the race to a certain amount of points.
What year was that?
That had to
2000 or that might have been 21. I think
Yeah,
so.
because it felt like it was about like 4 years ago or so. Um,
Yeah, I think it was 2021.
like I remember that being like pretty fun. Like, and I remember all the guys they were kind of like, not playing that hard in the first 3 quarters, and then it seemed like the
Yeah,
last quarter was like, all right, let's start let's start balling out a little bit. Uh, but
for
they got some
sure.
work to do. Adam Silver, he's got some work to do. He's turning into like maybe one of the most disliked commissioners in American pro sports. It's bad.
I feel, in my opinion, I think Adam Silver, yeah, the last few years has kind of dropped the ball. Where in the beginning of when he was commissioner, I had strong opinions about it. Like, even though David Stern was the commissioner for like 30 years or so, I kind of liked how Adam Silver came in and was doing things like right off the bat. And I was saying now my opinions have changed, but I feel in the beginning of his tenure as commissioner, Adam Silver was doing a better job than David Stern.
Because tell me this, uh, I felt like I liked the fact that the NBA was almost a year-round thing. Felt like Adam Silver came in, people
Yeah.
were interested in the summer league. It felt like,
Yep.
I mean, and maybe something I liked that maybe turned out to be something that was detrimental was like the constant free agency, guys switching teams,
Yeah.
but it felt like there was a good stretch where it was just like, um, guys are playing hard. There's legitimate rivalries in the NBA. I want to tune into the summer league. Seems like there's a lot of good guys in the draft. And it seemed like free agency too. All of it added to the NBA is a year-round game that you're constantly
Yeah.
hearing about. But now it just kind of like I don't know what you would think, Big Al, but I think the style of play is hurt a lot.
Yeah.
I think they have a lot of unlikable aging superstars and there
For
really
sure.
aren't and then 2 more things, I don't think there's a ton of likable young stars right now, and they really lack the, like, hardcore rivalries and days that you need to tune in to watch the NBA. I just haven't been seeing those things, I think that's why it's suffering.
Yeah, I feel the same way, honestly. And you're right about the young players. In my opinion, I'd say the last draft where you had legit NBA players, more than maybe like five or six, going all the way back to maybe Cunningham's rookie year. That draft class was really good. Now when rookies come in, it's maybe just one or two guys, and then the rest are just your average Joe, maybe below average Joe NBA players trying to make a spot. Like for me, like going off of my home team, I'm not really that high on Devin Carter, if I'm being honest.
It would be interesting, is any team high on any player that they got in the draft this last year?
I don't think so. Like they were saying the 2024 draft class probably one of the weakest in NBA history,
Yeah.
and that's showing facts. Reed Shepard, he was projected to maybe even win Rookie of the Year, and he's in the G League right now, make it onto a trying to make it onto the actual NBA rosters.
Yeah. And then you got people like Zach Edey, where it's like he's contributing well, but it's not like he's some superstar. And
Yeah,
I mean, I thought somebody was a dark horse for rookie of the year is going to be Matas Buzelis. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. But like,
yeah, I wouldn't know how to say
yeah,
that.
it's just weird. It just felt like yeah, last year was a major struggle bus, and then this next year's draft, it's going to be much better. And then I
Much
think
better, yeah.
And I think a lot of times too, when people, I mean, at least they had people tuning in for the second round of the NBA draft because there was all this talk about Bronny being drafted. But the vast
Yeah.
majority of these players, I mean, especially if we're just talking about first rounders, I, I mean, I don't feel like I'm hearing about any first round draft pick that's like, man, he's going to be such an amazing centerpiece for an organization. And it's like, it was
Yeah,
bad.
you
It was
don't
a
hear
really
that
bad draft.
anymore. I feel the only guy you're hearing that about is Cooper Flag. And the more I watch Cooper Flag, I think he is going to be a great player in the league. Just give him time, I feel. Like, I feel like we're overhyping him where he could come out the bat and he could be really good his rookie year. Or he could, in his rookie year, it may take some time. He may be a late bloomer as a superstar. A late bloomer, Cade Cunningham. Love his style of play, but he didn't really start to become a star player until maybe his third, fourth year in the league, and then it started to rise more and more until the season that we're in right now.
Yeah, I think the big thing is I don't know if Cooper Flag is actually going to be in this next year's draft.
See,
Sounds like he wants to stay at Duke, and that's the NIL money. He's like, He's got it pretty good. Maybe wants to develop a little bit more. I think he has such a love for. I mean, I'm a UNC fan, and it I
Yeah,
always talk to my buddies. I'm like, I can't stand how there is so many likable Duke players, especially over the last like decade. It's like I
yeah,
there hasn't been another real like Grayson Allen type player. And it's like, shoot, like I like Paulo Banchero. I like Zion Williamson. I really like
yeah,
Cooper Flag. So as a Tar Heel fan, I'm like, dang. But it seems like Cooper Flag, he loves Duke. He loves college
yeah. I would
basketball.
love for him to stay.
He's bought in. And it's easy to be kind of bought in when your team's unbelievable and you're making a ton of money in NIL.
Very true. Yeah,
So, but we'll see because I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of teams that are like going to try to bust out all the stops to try to get him to come to the NBA. But
yeah. And I would actually love to see that because then that might show some humility in a player like that where he wants to improve. And also like what you're saying, he loves playing for Duke. Like who wouldn't love playing for Duke? And like the joke about Kentucky one and done, like Cooper Flag, he wants to make a name for himself, not just be all right. I'm gonna play 1 year and then I'm out into the NBA.
yeah, yeah, and I think it's the interesting thing because you can always have the chat about like, okay, we understand about the legacy. We know that you like Duke. We know that you like college basketball. NIL is
Yeah,
good. It seemed like a kid with a good head on his shoulders, but probably a ton of people that are like, dude, what happens if you get hurt? Like you get hurt and then you're like your dream to play in the NBA
very
is
true.
done. So I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know, but I kind of like it. Um,
yeah. You don't want a Deshaun Butler moment.
yeah, it's like I don't know. You don't want to see anything bad happen to these players like this.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, because I know desperately like the NBA would love to have him be a part of the product because they're looking for like who's going to be the next superstar. Like Wembenyama's awesome. Um,
Yeah.
SGA is dope. Um, Anthony Edwards is doing his thing. John Morant, I feel like he's doing well, but his ship kind of sailed about being another face of the NBA. Should probably keep it.
That's very
Should
true.
probably keep it the
All the
gun.
gun
Keep the
drama.
gun in the holster, brother. That's probably a good idea. Um, but
The rumors of the fake gun trying to come up with a story like that.
oh
It was a fake gun.
man, but I bet the NBA is just like, man, we need this guy for our product. We need more people tuning into our games. Um,
Yeah.
and also, I think a
That's
big
the business side of it.
yeah, a big thing. He's an American. A lot of the biggest stars right now are international players.
That's very true. Wemby, you got Luca,
Yep.
like
Jokic.
Giannis Antetokounmpo is still doing his
Yep.
thing.
Yep. I mean, it's a lot of international superstars. And that's a
Yeah.
weird thing. I don't know if the NBA's really ever had to deal with that to this extent. Like you've always had international superstars, but there's always been a clear and favorite face or like vice
Hmm.
face, I guess you could say, assistant face
Yeah.
to the NBA. And I think they're struggling right now. Who's gonna take up the mantle?
Yeah, that's very true. And like a lot of these international superstars, like you alluded to earlier, a lot of these superstars are getting older.
Yeah,
All right, I want to switch it
yeah.
up to a fun game that I want to test your NBA knowledge.
You might make me look really bad here, Big Al.
All
Also, everybody
right,
everybody
so
can say hi to Caddy. This is my puppy who decided to make a little appearance.
nice. Did your dog have any NBA takes?
Any NBA takes? What you got? You getting camera shy.
Ah, all right. So how this game's gonna go? I'm gonna name teams in order of a certain player, who they played for in their NBA career. All of these are past players, and you'll have to try to guess.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be so bad at this. Let's do it.
All right, you ready for? So first one, he played for the Heat, Bulls, Cavs, and then back to the Heat.
Muslim?
No, I'll give you one more shot.
You said Heat, Bulls, Heat.
Heat, Bulls, short stint with the Cavs, and then back to the Heat. Like very short stint with the Cavs.
You're gonna have to tell me.
It was Dwayne Wade.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot he played for the Cavs.
Like I said, it was a very short stint. He might have played maybe only like 15 games, and then I can't remember if they traded him or he was waived and then signed back with Miami to end his career.
Man, that's what, like, when you said Cavs, I was like, all right, now this is throwing me for a tussle. Man, that should have been way easier. All right,
Yeah.
what do we got next?
Next one. All right. I'll give a hint here. This is an older player. I would say around our time of when we were kids. All right. He's played for the Celtics, Suns, Hawks, Nets, Heat, Jazz, Rockets, and then ended his career back with the Celtics.
Say that one more time.
All right. He's played for the Celtics, the Suns, the Hawks, Nets, Heat, Jazz, Rockets, and ended back with the Celtics. He was a good player. I would say a bit underrated.
Oh, Warford? Or no, but he's done.
Yeah, this player's retired. I think Horford's still playing.
Dang,
Yeah, this is tough.
this is tough. I'm trying to think of, like, pretty much has the NBA rainbow, like, jerseys.
Yeah, I would say so.
Do you know when he retired?
Oh, man,
Probably around.
looking up these players, I want to say he might have retired in 18 or 19. He had a long career.
Well, no, because Ray Allen. It's not Ray Allen.
No, it's not Ray
'cause
Allen.
He didn't play with a couple of those teams, and he didn't start with the Celtics.
No. That's right. Yeah, he started with Milwaukee.
Yeah. Do I get a hint?
I'll give you a hint. If I say the first name, you'll know it right away. So I'll just say his nickname without the first name. They would call him ISO.
Don't know.
Want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Joe Johnson.
Oh my gosh! I told you I'd be so bad at this. This is like one of those where,
Yeah.
man, I would never be Schwab and stump the Schwab.
All right. Last one. I feel you might get
I
this.
hope so. I'm 0 for 2.
All right. So this guy, he started his career with the Warriors, Wizards, Kings, 76ers, Pistons, and then back with the Warriors to end his career. I had to throw a former King in there.
Yeah. Well,
You want a hint?
Jason Richardson never played for the Kings, right?
No, I would have loved that.
Yeah, no.
Man. But you're right. I think Jay Rich has played for the teams I mentioned except for the Kings.
Yeah. He was one of the first people I thought of.
Yeah.
Matt Barnes?
No, but I could see why you guessed that. All right, I'll give you another hint. He was drafted in the early 90s.
Man, started with the Warriors and ended with the Warriors.
Yeah. I would say his longest tenure with a team was the Kings.
It wasn't Monte Ellis, was it?
Oh. Ooh, that's another good player.
He's like,
I loved Ellis.
Monte Ellis, he never came back to the Warriors.
No, he never did. Wait, did he?
No, I don't think so, because that was like Steph ended up taking over for him. And
That's right. Yeah. Once he left, he left.
or that was the big controversy.
Yeah.
And
He wore the number 4 a lot in his career.
Chris Webber?
Bingo.
He finished his career with the Warriors?
Yeah, it was a very short stint where he started to have those hardcore knee issues with the Pistons. And then I feel he just wanted to go out with the team that drafted him.
Yeah. Dang. Here, let me let the dog out real quick.
All good.
Man, you were getting me with a few of these. I was like, man, like, because Chris Webber was somebody I was thinking of. I was like, I don't remember him ever coming back to the Warriors.
Yeah, no, he did.
I got a quick story about Chris Webber. So
Yeah.
obviously, like, for anybody tuning in, Big Al and I, we grew up just north of Sacramento most of our lives. Like, you were there, you've been in the Sacramento area pretty much your whole life, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was born in the Bay Area. I moved up to just north of Sacramento when I was 9, and I loved the early 2000s because I felt like I was like a quasi Kings fan. Like, I was born
Yeah.
in the Bay Area, so I'm a Warriors fan, but early 2000s Kings were, like, superstars. I loved rooting for the Kings, and I couldn't stand the Lakers. Like, that was such a great rivalry, even though, unfortunately, the Lakers own the rivalry, but Chris Webber was one of my favorite players, and
Yeah.
do you remember when he was dating Tyra Banks?
I do remember that.
So, my
She would pop in at Los Lagos sometimes.
yeah, yeah, and then I actually met both of them at the Roseville Galleria Mall when I was a kid. I was
Oh,
I was
nice.
walking into the mall with my dad and my brother, and I remember walking by this guy, and it's just like, even when we're adults, these guys are massive, but when you're a kid, you're like, "Wait a minute, that's Chris Webber."
Yeah.
And then there was, like, barely anybody around. I think one other person, him and Tyra Banks said hi to, and then I actually have it. Let me
And then I got a Chris Webber story myself.
so the guy at Nordstrom, they gave us a piece of paper and Chris Webber signed it, and I've had that ever since, and this is in my man cave now, and that was one of the coolest things
I love
ever.
it.
I'll never forget shaking his hand because it felt like his hand was, like, this big. That
Man,
was that was the best. As a kid, that's one of my favorite memories with a sports star ever.
nice. I got a Chris Webber story
What do you got?
myself. So this was during the '02 season when the Kings were battling the Lakers in the playoffs. And at the time, we were watching game 4 at a family friend's house. And this was like a day game where the Kings were in LA, but they played the game like at noon or something. And so we're watching the game, and this is the game where Robert Ory hits that infamous buzzer beater. Yeah. So like we're all crushed. And then we're still spending the day at our family friend's house, and then later that night we're heading home, and then my dad is like, all right, before we go home we gotta stop at Rayleigh's real quick. And so he goes in, he's probably getting just one or two things, and then my dad, like, my dad, he's like a nonchalant guy, he doesn't get excited all that
Yeah.
much, and he comes running back to the car because it's Jack, me, and my mom in the car. And then he's just like, guys, Chris Webber is in the store right now. And then my mom just like is like, all right, let's go. And my mom and I walk into the store. And this is how bold my mom was. She just sees the back of Chris Webber and she's like, yo, Chris. He turns around and you can tell he didn't want to be bothered at all. He was just getting his stuff. And I just get a handshake from him saying like I'm a big fan, and that's that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, that's good for him saying hi, and, even going out in public after that would be tough. But, like, isn't that such a cool moment when you get to meet those people as a kid?
So cool.
Like, that was a thing for me, like, being around professional athletes in my professional career. Like, you can't really you can't afford to fanboy anymore. So, like,
That's very
like,
true. Yeah.
sometimes
I was going to ask you about
yeah,
that.
sometimes you miss that, but it's a good time as a kid remembering that. So when you see kids at games, it's like you'll go to Golden One Center and it's like, man, I remember when I was that kid that was so excited to go to a Kings game and, you know, see a player up close and personal, and it's just the coolest thing ever. And I feel like sometimes, and that's one of the parts of the beauty of being a kid is, like,
That's very
you're able to
true.
geek out on it. It's fun.
And going into your background with the Warriors G League team, I wanted to ask, out of all those G League players, who's the one that you remember the most that has made a name for themselves in the NBA, whether it's still with the Warriors or maybe he's gone off to another team?
Well, Jeremy Lin, like, he came back, and that was, like, after Linsanity and stuff. Like, that was super
Yeah.
super nice, and he's a good Christian guy, so that was fun. Um, and then Quinn Cook was definitely one that had a good little stint. Um,
That's
and
right. Yeah.
that was fun. But I don't think there was anybody that really made waves.
No.
I feel like we had some good players and like a good team, but it was kind of an
Yeah.
interesting time when I was there. I think it was my final season. It was a really weird year for the Warriors. It would have been, I think it was like
Was
that
that the
20,
year that both Steph and Clay were injured?
yeah, I think that was 2019. Maybe it's 2018.
Okay. Yeah.
And so there was a lot of guys on two-way contracts. So that was always fun. And then probably
Nice.
another one
Yeah.
is like Juan Toscano Anderson. Um,
Yeah.
he ended up getting signed with the Warriors and then he played for the Lakers for a time. And I don't know if he's still in the league.
Yeah. I don't think so either. He also had a short stint with the Kings.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think players like that, it was cool to see during that time. The Warriors are not that great. And every single time these guys went up to play, it's like they're on a 10-day and you want them to just
Yeah.
ball out. And it was fun. It was fun to watch. But some of these guys had a cup of coffee in the NBA. Other guys had,
Very
you know,
true.
other guys had a sit down breakfast for a moment, but nobody turned out to be anything crazy. But the fact that these guys can come up and like even people like Juan Toscano Anderson, like that's sweet to make the
Yeah.
Warriors. You got to play for the Lakers, you got to play for the Kings, and to be able to like, make some good money during a short period of time. And
Yeah.
that's so much pressure too.
Very much.
Like
Yeah.
every single time that you are coming on the floor, like that could be it.
That's very true because there's a lot of uncertainty once you're out there. Like you never know what's going to happen. Career-ending injury, you get cut. You're kind of maybe blackballed in the NBA for whatever reason it could be.
Yeah. Because the thing is too, it's tough. I mean, when you saw us play in high school, like there were some guys that we had some really good players on the team. Like Spencer Butterfield was a great player. And
Yeah.
you know,
He tried to make an NBA
yeah, and
run.
I really thought he was gonna make the Jazz. I was excited. I was like, let's go, Spence.
I love, yeah, him and Trey Lyles
Yeah,
together.
it was a great summer league. And and it felt like he was playing really good defense and stuff too, and like just doing all the other little things. But I know with us, like there were certain players we had on our team that they go in and they shoot. And I know high school basketball is way different than college and the NBA, but it's kind of similar with these
Yeah.
G League guys. You come in, you shoot, and if that's kind of deemed a bad shot and you didn't give it to one of the guys that has a longer leash, like you're gone.
I might be messing up his name. Do you remember that one, not Remy, but it was like some European guy, maybe from like Lithuania or something. His name was like Eduardo or something.
From Delaware?
I don't, yeah, from DO. I can't remember if he made the team, but he was like in tryouts and practice and all that. He was trying to be all fancy with the ball.
Oh my gosh. Dude, I remember that now. I totally forgot about him because when you would say somebody that's like international, I'd always think of Remy.
Yeah.
But now I kind of remember that name. Oh, that was so random.
I remember both Cuts and Broyles always getting on him. Like, bro, just make the simple play. You don't have to be Jay Will out there.
That's the thing. It's just like simple basketball is the best basketball.
Exactly. Even when I still play, I'm very fundamental with how I play.
Yeah. Yeah, now I feel like I was always pretty fundamental. I wasn't gonna wow you with athleticism, but I mean, I'm a shell of myself. Like it's funny if I looked back at some of our highlights, it'd be like, dang, like I definitely can't play like that anymore.
That's very true. Same here. Like I still feel like because I play, I keep up with it, but I'm nowhere near where I was when I was in high school.
Because also too, for people tuning in, like I'm probably barely 6'5", if that. And like I was our center.
Yeah.
I'm not tall. In basketball terms, I am not tall at all. Like I
Yeah. You're
am,
no Casey.
yeah. Yeah, because Casey aren't, and then he had a good stretch with Oklahoma. I'm glad that he was able to,
He did, yeah.
yeah, he was able to find his way there, and that was great. But I remember when I was going against guys like Brendan Lane over at Rockland, who ended up playing at UCLA.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like I could body the guy, but I was 6'5". He was like 6'9", 6'10".
6'9", 6'10",
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's just like I don't know. I can't play. I could play at the rim. I couldn't really play above the rim like those guys could. But we had some good
Yeah,
teams. We had some really good teams.
we did.
And for anybody tuning in, I mean, I'll never forget our junior year playing for the section championship against Sac High.
Yeah.
Man, dude, those guys were so good. They were, and then, I mean,
Yeah.
and then, like, quite frankly, we were just pretty one dimensional. Like, Spence was the guy that could score. He could,
Spence was basically our Zach LaVine or our DeMar DeRozan.
yeah, yeah. It was like one of those things where it's like I could hit some shots there, but I was probably more like maybe an 8-8 kind of guy, maybe a 7-10 kind of guy, where it's like I'd be
Yeah.
kind of hovering around, trying to get like in double digits of points. Um, and then Luke Luke Bradley, our boy, it's just like he was
Love
like
that dude.
he played point, but it was mostly like Spence taking it up the floor. I'll never forget. Like I
Yeah.
made it in the Sacramento B, no, it wasn't. It might have been the Sacramento B. I'm doing a layup in the section championship game, and it's just like
I remember
and it's like I probably had like 6 points in that game out of like anybody that's gonna make the paper. Like it shouldn't have been me. Um, but that
yeah,
that was a great run, and it was fun playing at Arco Arena, uh, when it was Arco.
very much fun. I got a story about that where all you guys were out on the court like warming up. So I can't remember if I told you guys this or you guys saw it, but I got to meet a Kings player that day.
Who'd you meet?
I got to meet Dante Green.
No way.
You're probably the second person I've told that to that was on our team, and they're like, "What?"
That's crazy.
Like literally, I'm sitting on the bench as you guys are warming up, and like you know me, I'm a big fan of underrated players that are the bottom of the bench. And I keep looking back, and I see this tall black dude wearing a green striped shirt, and then in the back of my mind, I'm like, "Is this Dante Green?" And like I'm wanting to go over and meet him and talk to him, but I'm so darn nervous. Where I get one of our assistants to come with me because I'm so nervous. And like I meet the guy, have a little chat, and that was that.
Yeah. It's so crazy that it's almost been 15 years since we graduated high school, and like
Very much
there's
so.
so many things that I just like don't remember. It's hilarious.
Yeah, and like I tend to believe like I have a good memory. I can remember little bits of stuff, but as years go by, things are starting to fade a little more.
Yeah, we had some good times though.
Yeah,
That was a blessing to go to Del Oro.
very much so. I loved my high school
Yeah,
experience.
I know there's a lot of people that don't get that. A lot of people don't get such a fun high school
Yeah.
experience. A lot of really good friends. We were really good at sports. Yeah, that was fun, man. I loved growing up in Loomis during that time.
Yeah, me too. All right, I wanna ask you this question, and then we'll get into it. Who was the player that got you into basketball?
I definitely remember uh Pistol Pete Maravich. I remember hearing about him as a kid.
Yeah. Do you still have that jersey?
Still got the Pistol Pete jersey. You still have that one.
That's
Yeah, it's
right.
not the 44 jersey from the
No?
Hawks. It's the 7 from the Jazz. But I
Okay.
need to get the pistol jersey.
That would be
Remember
legit.
that? Vince Carter was definitely one of those players that I absolutely loved as a kid. Obviously, and then Michael Jordan. I mean, that was just it was
The
I was
GOAT.
born in 91. When were you born?
I was also born in
Yeah, so we were
91.
91. Like we were the tail end of his career, and like kind of, and we pretty much at like the
Yeah.
back half of his career. I remember like Space Jam and stuff like that was such a fun movie. But even more than that, I feel like when I really started to take basketball more seriously, like one of my favorite kings of all time actually is John Barry.
John Barry,
Yeah,
dude. That's a throwback
it's
name.
definitely a throwback. And obviously his dad, the underhand free throws, like that's one of my favorite
Yeah.
Warriors of all time.
Nice. Yeah. And then his brother, Brent
Yeah.
Barry.
Um, and then probably during that time too, like growing up in Sacramento, because I moved up there when I was 9, was the uh, like Jason Williams era, the J Will era.
Jay Will. Yeah. He was fun to
Yeah.
watch. Yeah.
He was fun, but it's funny I bring up all these players that I loved, but I never modeled my game after any of these guys. I was never a point guard. I was
Yeah.
always just pretty much a glorified small forward that could shoot from the outside.
They would always put you in the post.
Yeah, put me in the post. I always wanted to try to, you know, I mean, I feel like I got a lot of like tailing threes to start games. I feel like
Yeah.
it was always that, just like pass the ball in, and then I'm coming up the floor and kick it back to me. But yeah, I was thrown in the post a lot. I didn't really. I remember there was. I think it was maybe the summer before or the off season before senior year.
Yeah.
I was really trying to get into the dribbling drills with the guards, and I remember I like kind of got shunned, and I was like, I feel like I want to learn how to dribble better. I want to be able to like take guys off the dribble and develop my game more. Like just not, and it's not like I was ever super quick or super
Yeah.
athletic, but I'm like, I feel like I can maybe do a little bit more than what I'm doing down in the post. But dude, we had some good teams. We had some good times.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
but
Like even though I was the general manager, what I loved is the coaches would let me participate in practice.
dude, that was always fun.
Yeah.
That was super fun. And I think, tell me if I'm wrong. You you didn't get to play senior night, did you?
I didn't. I was low key kind of pissed about that
Yeah, I was.
because like
Go for it.
because 2009, 2010, that's around the story. Oh man, what state was it? Do you remember the story of this kid? What was his name? Jason McElwain, I think was the guy's name, and he was like similar to me where he was the general
And then
manager.
he hit like a big shot in the game or something.
No, no, I need to look it up again, but the story was where senior night the coach let him suit up, wasn't sure if he was actually going to get into the game. His team was blowing out the other team, and the coach puts him in like 3 to 4 minutes left in the game, and the guy goes off for like five, six threes in
What?
a span of
Yes.
3, 4
Yes.
minutes.
Oh, I remember that. I definitely remember that. Like now I'm having that video circulating in my head again
Yeah.
because I remember, and again, I remember there was, I think, a good amount of us, me included, that were advocating for you to get into the game, like to be able to suit
Yeah.
up. Uh,
Oh man.
Still, there's probably a part of me that could have done more. But when you hit me up to do this podcast, I'm like, man, I'm thinking back on the Del Oro days and everything, and I'm like, dang, Big Al never got to play on senior night. And I don't
Yeah.
remember how the conversations were had, but I know that's something I look back and I'm like, man, that would have been such a fun thing to talk about for the rest of our lives. Like be able to share
Yeah, I would have
be
loved
able to
that.
share the court together. But obviously that wasn't God's plan. But I do
Yeah.
really wish that would have happened.
Same here. The one thing I do remember, I think they had me be one of the team captains for senior night.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was able to go out there in center court, talk with the refs, the other guys on the other team,
Yeah.
maybe slip the refs a 20.
Man. Yeah, you should have gave him 40. I don't know if that senior night went all right. I can't remember.
Yeah, did we win that game or not? I don't remember.
I couldn't even tell you who we played.
Same here.
I don't want to remember my last game senior year against center. I definitely don't want to remember that.
Oh yeah.
That's a
Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's probably more of a you and me when we get together when I come back up to Sacramento.
Okay.
That's one of those that I
All right.
pretty much
Well,
tried to erase pretty much everything on my mind.
yeah.
That left such a sour taste in my mouth, but we did have some
Yeah.
good teams and some good times.
Yeah. We'll leave that off the
Yeah.
pod. Man. All right. So switching gears here, this podcast is for basketball, but also faith. What's a verse that has driven your professional career?
First Peter 3:15. Always have a defense for the hope that you have. I think we live in a day and age where people are extremely biblically illiterate, and
Yeah.
I think God's done an amazing work in my life. Definitely haven't done things perfect at all, but I mean, I go to a great church, got an amazing God fearing wife, love my upbringing, great friends. But when I think of me always providing a defense for the faith, and if people asking me, like, you are a Christian, you profess to be Christian, you're very open and honest
Yeah.
about that, and you want to react to what's going on in culture and sports and all these things from a Christian perspective, why do you believe what you believe? And
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's led to me, really trying to surround myself with good people that understand the word of God more, go to a church that really challenges me um, every single Sunday and then throughout the week with other things that we're doing. But again, First Peter 3:15, uh,
I love that. And that's the apologetics
that's the
verse.
apologetics verse. I love me some apologetics. I still got plenty to learn, but
Same here. I always laugh about this because I feel it was very, very God timing, but also kind of learning. When I was in Bible college, I was in the middle of taking an apologetics class, and then the apartment complex I was living at, I get a knock on my door, and like you would think it's the Jehovah's Witness, and then it wasn't them. It was this religion from, what did they call themselves, the World's Mission Church of
mm,
God. And if you know anything about that, one of the things that they believe is in how we believe God the Father, they also believe in God the Mother.
mm,
Yeah. And so like it's so funny, like they came to me when I was taking an apologetics class. So I was in that moment, I'm using what I'm learning in
yeah.
class. And I feel I stood my ground a little bit,
What?
but they didn't get me.
Where were you going to Bible college?
I am small college out here in Sac called Epic Bible
Okay.
College.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the thing that's so interesting is there are so many people that just twist scripture. So like even Jehovah's Witness, when they come to
Yeah.
people's door, it's like you would think they're on the same team as us.
Yeah. And then once you dive deeper in, you're like, wait, no.
Yeah. I mean, even too, like we went to school with a bunch of Mormons
Yeah.
and you know, their religion is different than ours. And
Yeah.
they
Like on the surface, it looks good, but once you dive deeper in, you start to see the the false teachings.
yeah. And I feel like that's the interesting thing. That's why I love First Peter 3:15 is just the idea that you got to have a defense. And then also too, it's fine to say I don't know
Yeah.
about things. You don't like
That's very true. And
a
yeah.
lot of us aren't
And
just
that's something that even our teacher would say.
yeah, because there's a lot of us like we aren't just like walking theologians and apologists. Like, you know,
Yeah.
some of us are young in our faith and some of us just like it's okay to say like, you know what? I feel like we need to examine the scripture together.
Yeah.
But there's also things that make it difficult when you're talking to somebody from another faith because it's like Jehovah's Witness, like they got a
Yeah.
different Bible. Mormons, they have like their own Mormon Bible and different testaments of Christ. These things are difficult, but I'd say probably far too
Yeah.
often Christians just aren't prepared to have those conversations and they feel like they get really caught off guard because they just don't really have a defense for why they believe what they believe. They know it to be
Yeah.
true, and that could be
And
like
that's
just
one
the
thing
work of the Holy
even through
Spirit
my
and like a
class.
surface level understanding of the word, but it's tough.
Yeah. And that's something even for me within my class and moving forward with how I even talk to people about the faith. It's like you don't want to just drown them in everything that you're about, that you believe you want to give them a chance to give what they have to say and then go back and forth and have a healthy conversation.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like you
'cause
can
that
still disagree about things, but you need that healthy respect.
yeah, that's the thing that people need to realize, that when you're having these conversations, if it starts out as a debate, like, maybe that's just not really, like, the conversation that should be had. Like, maybe figure out a way to have a little bit more of, like, a healthy discussion.
Exactly.
Well,
I listen to Cliff and Stewart. I listen to Alan Parr, Mike Winger. I listen to a lot, and then I listen to Ruslan a lot. Yeah, and what I like about a lot of these dudes, specifically Ruslan, I would say, is he takes a storyline that's happening within the world, and then he always brings it back to scripture.
yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that's much needed. I was on his podcast or show one time, actually, and have gotten to know him over the years,
Yeah. I
and I think
remember
it's just
that because I was excited for the episode to come up, and then either on your end or his, I never saw anything about it.
yeah, I don't really remember what happened. I don't know if that got put on, like, his other smaller channel, like Bless God or something, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember jumping on there and stuff, but, it's that's what we need, especially people like Mike Winger. I think
Yeah.
he is so well versed in
Very.
scripture, and even he, like, there's some things I disagree with him theologically.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
same here, but he's still good to watch, and
he's awesome. He
yeah.
is just, and I would, when people ask me, like, who I'd suggest, Christian YouTubers, Mike Winger is definitely one of those guys that I point people towards. And I think he's really faithful to the word. I think he's starting to really get after it with some tough things, especially when he was exposing Benny Hinn.
Oh my gosh, he would that's probably the most angry I've ever seen Mike Winger.
Yeah.
Like, he was just ripping Benny Hinn apart.
Yeah, and it's cool to see somebody like he gets it's weird to see someone like that would get upset but would never really show it on camera. Like, I feel like I'm a lot more like, you can tell how I'm, like, emotionally
Yeah,
just
calm, cool,
distraught.
and collected.
He is always calm, cool, and collected. And for me, sometimes I'm just like, what is going on here? Like, I see, like, Paula White trying to sell blessings for $1,000, and it's just like, what are we doing here? Like, I get fired up, and I don't understand how people follow these people. I don't see how they have these positions, these churches. But, like, thank God for people like Mike Winger, because he's not just some emotional guy. And I hope people wouldn't think that I'm just some emotional guy, but it's like, here's why we know this is wrong, because God's word says that it's wrong. And he does
Yeah.
a phenomenal job. And I think Cliff, I definitely would disagree with some stuff theologically with him, but he
Yeah.
has so many great conversations in person
Yeah.
with college students and people in public that I think are really helpful and edifying.
Yeah, and
So
I feel with a lot of these Christian YouTubers, like, kind of like what you were saying, like, there's stuff theologically that we agree about, but we can still come together because the central part of our belief is Jesus, Jesus and the cross. So, like, all those other side beliefs don't really don't really matter when the core is the same.
yeah. And I think I try not to major in the minors, if I'm going to use that phrase,
I love that phrase.
because there's some things that I feel like because I'm reformed. So it's just like,
Yeah.
I believe that we can back up the reformed theology through scripture. And then obviously people more on the charismatic side, they believe they can do that the same.
Yeah.
But there's times where it's like, okay, can I still be friends and interact with someone that's a continuationist? It's like, of course. Like, I think some people, but there is times where people will use and abuse those things. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of good charismatics will definitely mention that, and they'll call that out. But the way that they see the gifts and signs and wonders, are they for today? And There's and then I mean, there's Baptists and Presbyterians. It's like Presbyterians, you believe that you need to baptize your babies. I believe more it's a confession of faith before, and like those kind of things. We can still have unity with those people without getting so caught up in they have to believe the same. I have the same view of the end times. Got to have the same view of baptism. I got to have the same view, the spiritual gifts. But sometimes people, it's like they affirm that God's word is the authority that we go to for faith and practice, and they try to live by God's word. They affirm like sola scriptura and things like that. And thank God that we're learning some of these things now, because I mean we both went to Bayside Church
Yeah.
growing up, and then now I just saw a video of like they probably had a female pastor when I was there or when we were there, but like I wasn't well versed in the word. I mean, I never even remember hearing much of a conversation about, is this okay?
Yeah.
And things like that. So, but there's a lot of good people out there that we have some secondary differences with that we can be like, you know what, disagree with some stuff with Cliff, but I think he does some good stuff too. And it's great.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. We can have a health we can have a healthy disagreement with still respect there.
Amen. Agree to disagree is a lost art
I would say,
in this day and age for sure.
oh my gosh, everything that we've talked about, I feel that's what Stephen A. Smith and LeBron need to hear.
But you got to remember that is reality TV. I think that stuff is they're hamming that stuff up, and oh, it's just they just sound like children. Tell me this though, before I know, like I don't know if we're gonna be like wrapping up, but did you watch some of the Pat McAfee LeBron versation?
Not yet. I still need to watch that because I'm seeing that all over my socials on Twitter, on Instagram,
Yeah,
and I s- I don't want to talk about something I'm not well versed in. Know what I mean?
yeah. But I just felt like they obviously brought up the Stephen A thing, but it seems like people don't like either person in this fight. Like there's been times where I've defended Stephen A. Smith definitely more than I've defended LeBron.
Yeah.
But I think LeBron, like he just came across as just really unlikable. And I think that's
Yeah.
the thing that he's probably always struggled with in his career, and especially maybe the second half. People don't like him as much as they liked Kobe and MJ. They
Yeah.
just they just don't. And it's tough. But hopefully like Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James can kind of hear like put your petty differences aside. But also at the
Exactly.
same time, they're entertainers. So they're probably gonna do whatever they can to like keep the conversation about them. And that's sports media is showbiz now, Al.
That's very true. Like LeBron trying to look intimidating to Stephen A. Smith. I wonder how LeBron would feel if Broyles came up on him.
I would, yeah, that would be quite the fight right there. That's
Oh
for
my
sure.
gosh. Yeah,
Yeah, I think LeBron would have a few inches on Broyles.
for sure. Yeah, like you said it earlier, we'll get wrapping up here, but I want to also get your take on it came out this morning. Did you hear about the Memphis Grizzlies firing Taylor Jenkins?
Yeah, I mean, I saw that. I really haven't looked into it too much. I mean, because
They're in the fifth seed right now.
yeah, they're like pretty much solidified in the playoffs, and they're
Yeah.
about to be in a play-in, and they're having a good year. I mean, I saw a little video. They were down like 20 or something like that. Like his last game he coached, and he like was dancing with a player or something. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about how they justified that, especially right before the playoffs. There had to have been something
Yeah, there
massive.
had to be something, but just looking at it from a fan's perspective without much out even right now, I just say that was kind of a dumb move on their end, so close to the playoffs, and now everything's gonna shake up. You don't know how the players are gonna respond to their interim head coach.
Yeah, that it seemed weird to me. I was like, I don't understand this decision at all.
Yeah,
So I'm looking forward to kind of looking into that some more, see how they justify it. Because there's been some weird moves in the NBA, like the
yeah,
the Dallas Mavericks. I still think that was such a joke what happened there. You know, Mavs fans are disgruntled, and I'm sure fans here, they're like, "What's going on? This has been our guy, and we have a chance to really do something special in the playoffs for the first time in a long time. So how in the world do you justify letting this guy go?" It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say this is probably the best the Grizzlies have looked since the grit and grind era,
Yeah, that's
and then
true.
you let go of your head coach like that?
It's so weird, man.
It doesn't make sense. A lot of the stuff that's happened in the league this year has not made sense.
Yeah, it's weird. I just kind of hope the playoffs are fun.
Same here, same here. I want it to be a fun, entertaining playoff.
Yeah, I would love to see. I'm interested to see how the Warriors are going to do.
What seed are they again? They're high up, aren't they? They're like the 3rd or 4th seed.
Not right now because we had with Steph Curry being hurt, we've taken a little bit of a slide. I
That's
think
right.
we're like the fifth or sixth seed right now, but like picking up Jimmy Butler was good for us. You know, when Steph was healthy and everybody
Yeah.
else was healthy, we were like 9-1 or 10-1 since picking up Jimmy. So it's fun, but we got a little bit of work to do. Get Steph healthy, and
Yeah.
then yeah, it's gonna be fun to see what the Thunder end up doing in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see what they do. On my previous podcast, I was talking about predictions for the playoffs, and two of my guests have the Celtics going back to back.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. They have such a complete team, and they have experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like the Nuggets are good, and that's probably why I would say, and I'm probably in the minority here. I still believe Jokic has a little bit of the edge in the MVP race
Yeah.
because if you took SGA off of the Thunder, they would still be a playoff team. They wouldn't be as good. Obviously, like SGA is doing incredible things, and
Yeah.
he's been super super fun to watch. But I think you take Jokic off the Nuggets, they're not a playoff team.
You really think so?
No, I really don't. They would. I mean, maybe they would be really fighting for maybe a 9 or 10 seed.
Yeah.
Like, and it's no offense to Porter and Murray and the rest of the squad, but I
Yeah.
think Jokic, it's like most valuable player on their team. I think
100%.
it's Jokic, but it's interesting to see what the Nuggets are going to do in the playoffs. And Celtics are a juggernaut. What are the Cavs going to do? They've had a resurgence. Like it's fun. I think there's some cool storylines for sure.
There are, so we'll see what goes on there. Good stuff. So, just to fill you in here, I think it was in the email that I sent you to end each podcast, even with a guest. I want you to give maybe an encouraging short little message to the listeners as we end.
Yeah, my encouraging message would be make the most out of the time that you have. And I know it's as we were jumping into a conversation, we've known each other since junior high,
Yeah.
spent a good amount of time together in high school, obviously playing basketball together, and we can reminisce
Yeah.
on our time in high school and stuff. And I know we can now being about 15 years out of high school, it's like, all right, did I make the most out of these periods of life? And how did I see God continue to provide and sustain me through those times? And it's I hope it doesn't sound grim, but like we're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's plenty of things that I think we try to put off, and a lot of times we need to like really take advantage of what God's given us right now. Maybe that's our health right now. Maybe it's like financial provision. Even now, I see with my wife Sarah and I, we're about to have a baby in a month and a half. It's like, all right, how do I make the most out of this time leading up to having a kid?
Yeah.
And
Congratulations, by the way.
thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. It's such a blessing, but yeah, like make the most out of the time that God is graciously given you because you can always find a way to make more money. You can always find a way to replace those shoes or those clothes or that car,
Yeah.
but you never get time back. And it's cool to look back and reminisce about all the good times and be like, you
Yeah.
know what? I really did feel like for the most part, I made the most out of the time that I was at Del Oro High School. I made the most out of the time for the most part when I was at Azusa Pacific. And then when I was in the Bay Area working for the Sharks and the Warriors and
Yeah.
Now it's like, hopefully it's just an encouragement to people to stop putting things off, get into your Bible today, do the things that you are trying to put off tomorrow, and hopefully that puts a little fire under everybody's butt.
I love that. Well, Jon, I appreciate you coming on. And to all you guys out there, remember, stay up with them threes up. Love, joy, peace. See ya.